It was hailed as the deal of the century. China would build the roads, railways, ports, and power lines that the global financial system had long refused to fund. Developing nations would finally step onto the fast track of prosperity. 12 years later, the dream looks very different. In 2025, the 75 poorest countries on Earth must send Beijing $22 billion in principal and interest. Money many of them simply do not have. The total bill for all developing country borrowers reaches $35 billion this year, a record that will keep climbing through the decade. Hospitals, classrooms, and climate defense projects are already being mothballed so that debt installments can be wired to Chinese state banks. The story of the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, is one of grand ambitions and complex realities. Launched in 2013 by President Xi Jinping, the BRI promised to bring infrastructure, jobs, and growth to countries that had struggled for investment. Roads, ports, railways, power plants, projects sprouted across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Many of these infrastructure investments have created new opportunities, boosting connectivity and trade, and helping communities access essential services. Yet, these projects came with massive loans, often denominated in foreign currencies, which have left some countries with mounting debt and rising repayment pressures. Chinese credit flowed faster than the Yangtze flood season. More than $50 billion was disbursed in 2016 alone, eclipsing the combined lending of every Western government. But in many cases, revenues from these projects fell short of expectations, complicating the ability of governments to service their debts. Take Laos, for example. The flagship 414-kilometer China-Laos railway opened in 2021 with much fanfare. It has certainly improved connectivity, but ticket sales cover only a fraction of its costs. Laos's public debt now tops 123% of GDP, and more than half is owed to China. In some cases, sections of the national power grid have been ceded to Chinese firms as collateral. Officials privately refer to their country as a debt colony, highlighting the delicate balance between sovereignty and financial obligations. Similar patterns can be seen across other countries, from Honduras to the Solomon Islands, where Chinese loans followed shifts in diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to Beijing. Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia secure new lines because they anchor China's overland trade routes, while mineral-rich countries like Congo and Indonesia are important partners for critical resources. This blend of credit, influence, and resources has led to accusations of debt-trap diplomacy, a phrase Beijing denies, framing the initiative instead as mutually beneficial cooperation. Yet beneath the grand projects and strategic alignments, discontent simmers on the ground. From fishermen in Sri Lanka protesting displacement to activists in Kenya demanding transparency, local backlash has erupted against several BRI ventures. These communities voice concerns over land rights, environmental degradation, and unfulfilled promises. Protests have shaped policy responses and, in some cases, led to project cancellations or renegotiations. At the same time, China's ambitions stretch beyond bricks and mortar. The Belt and Road has evolved into a digital Silk Road, a campaign to wire the world with fiber optic cables, cloud computing infrastructure, and 5G networks. Companies like Huawei and ZTE have installed systems across dozens of developing countries. While these tools can improve connectivity, critics worry they may also export surveillance capabilities and extend Beijing's digital influence. Meanwhile, China's global lending is undergoing a quiet transformation. In recent years, Beijing has pledged to shift its focus toward greener investments and more sustainable finance. It has promised to stop building new coal plants abroad and has promoted solar, wind, and digital connectivity as new priorities under BRI 2.0. While skeptics question the follow-through, this pivot signals an acknowledgement of past criticisms and a rebranding effort. The geopolitical implications run deeper still. Some of China's ports and logistics hubs are seen as having dual-use potential, capable of serving both commercial and military purposes. This perception fuels Western anxiety over China's long-term intentions and reinforces strategic competition, particularly in the Indo-Pacific. In response, global powers have begun to offer alternatives. The United States, alongside G7 partners, launched the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, or PGII, while the European Union introduced the Global Gateway Initiative. These programs aim to provide developing nations with capital that comes with more transparency, better governance, and fewer geopolitical strings attached. Still in early stages, their success remains uncertain. China itself faces headwinds. Growth has slowed, the property sector is under stress, and youth unemployment has reached record levels. Domestic banks are under pressure to recover overseas loans, even as diplomats push for softer terms to preserve goodwill. To complicate matters further, a significant portion of China's lending is opaque. According to aid data, at least $385 billion in Chinese loans are hidden behind state-owned enterprises and special-purpose vehicles, making it difficult to evaluate true risks and repayment timelines. This brings the world to an uneasy crossroads. Developing nations urgently need infrastructure but fear losing fiscal freedom. China seeks strategic influence but risks reputational damage if projects fail or communities rebel. And as international institutions advocate for fairer debt restructuring, private creditors, emboldened by rising interest rates, resist concessions. Every decision carries weight, and every delay compounds the financial strain. The future of the Belt and Road Initiative now hinges on critical choices. Will Beijing offer genuine debt relief or enforce contracts and risk seizing strategic assets? Will debtor nations diversify their financing and assert more control, or remain bound by unsustainable repayments? And will the global community step up with fairer, more ethical alternatives, or leave the most vulnerable countries to navigate these stormy waters alone? What began as a bold plan to connect the world through concrete and code has become a test of global trust, financial resilience, and geopolitical cooperation. The true story of who benefits from the Belt and Road will be written not in policy speeches, but in balance sheets and in the lives of people whose futures were mortgaged, project by project, loan by loan. If this video helped you understand the complex realities behind the headlines, please share it with others. Subscribe to the channel for more in-depth explorations of global affairs, and join the conversation in the comments.